Hello my darlings, it's Zui here, and today I'm delivering to you another Tomura Shigaraki story. And wow, in the last video you gave me, as of the time of recording this, 130 comments. I have never gotten so many comments so quickly under a video. If we could repeat that, that would be great. Because one of the best things about being a YouTuber is reading all of these nice comments. Even hate comments are actually nice to read. Just, that I get feedback to something that I'm doing, even if it's nice or bad. So if you could do that again, I would greatly appreciate that. But before we dive right into it, I would also like to remind you to watch the video until the end, like or dislike it to increase the standing in the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, thank you for all of these nice comments as of recent, and please keep it up. I'm kind of begging you. Okay, let's get right into the show, shall we? The League recently abandoned their previous hideout, a two-story log cabin in the woods. For an old hotel that had to be left to rot as mold was discovered in the basement. And the only reason it wasn't demolished yet was a nearby swamp area with an endangered squirrel species living in it. Blowing up the hotel would cause damage to the mire, and probably the squirrels too. So the League simply made a rule to never go down into the basement, and only stay in areas Kurogiri had thoroughly cleaned and bleached. Sure, this was still dangerous, but unlike the log cabin, the hotel still had internet access. Admittedly, it was very slow, most likely a leftover router that no one bothered taking down. But internet was still internet. Plus, it had no password. The problem with this new base, however, had been you. A homeless woman living on the rooftop of the building. The hotel's roof was flat, with a layer of gravel on top, so you had set up a tent there. You had even used spare wooden beams and some loose earth in an attempt to build a little farm. And while all your tries and efforts to grow something have failed, so far, it was nice waking up and watering your soil. It gave you a routine, something you had missed and, admittedly, needed. Initially, you hid from them, despite not knowing who they were. The rough look they had certainly was intimidating. Now your big setup was a bust, as it had made them highly aware of any person running about. So you yourself weren't hiding for long. You had been found by a lanky white-haired guy with horribly dry skin. Hell, you lived on the windy rooftop of an abandoned hotel, and somehow even you had managed to have less dry skin than him. After the initial shock of your discovery, his hand closed around your throat. Yet, he didn't choke you. He just awkwardly held you for a few seconds before giving you a questioning look. You blinked. "Are you trying to kill me?" The question sounded just as awkward as the situation. This never happened before." You snorted. "What?" he barked. "You sound just like my ex." As a reply, he snorted himself too. And his lips moved further up, turning his creepy grin into an actually quite cute smile. "Good one." He let go of your throat. "Who are you? And how can you survive my quirk?" he asked in an accusatory manner. You scratched the back of your head. I'm homeless. As for my quirk, I don't know." You were very confused and a little scared. Homeless, he repeated with a melancholic undertone. So, are you going to kill me now? He shrugged, and he deadpanned. Good answer. Sarcasm's going to help you here. In response, you just shrugged, and the man grunted. Stay here. Need to talk to the others. Then he stepped away. Whatever insane thought pattern in your brain made you decide to actually wait for him to come back just to see what would happen, somehow managed to be a very good idea. As the guy returned with a blonde, giggling girl and an edgy emo guy who just looked at you with disinterest. Immediately upon crossing the girl's gaze, however, she jumped on top of you and pressed a knife to your throat. Just say the word, Tamura! Followed by her laughing maniacally. The white-haired guy with the bad skin condition of her smiled. Look into those eyes, Toga, he hissed. You'd really be wasting your breath on her. The girl, Toga, grabbed you by the chin, forcing you to look into her amber-colored eyes. Oh my, she whispered. You're right. She died long ago. Then the girl stood up and clutched Tomura's jacket. Tomura Shigaraki, can we keep her? Please, 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 please. I wanna feed her. The man scoffed. I guess that's up to her then. And this is how you became the newest member of the League of Villains, and Toga's unofficial pet. They certainly were an entertaining bunch. And unlike most people in the outside world, these people were quite honest. And you had your fair share of bad experiences with other people. So it was nice and fresh hearing someone say, Yo, I'm going to stomp on your head if you keep doing that. Instead of a backhanded, nice suggestion, followed by them bringing it up weeks, if not months later, just to crush your spirits. It had been a few days now, since you were not on the radar of the media. You could actually move about in the city without much hassle. Plus, there's a reason homeless are called the invisible people, as Tomura had put it. You had become a valuable food dispenser. There's a reason homeless are called the invisible people. And as Tomura had put it, you had become a valuable food dispenser. Coming from a guy as cartoonishly evil as him, this was actually quite the compliment. And over the next few weeks, you integrated yourself into their fold. Today had been a lazy day. It was a very hot summer day. And while two members of the League, Twice and Spinner, named Twice and Spinner, were desperately trying to repair and power up the air conditioning until unit of the hotel, you were lazing about in the abandoned lobby. The group had done quite a nice job cleaning the gross floors, and even threw out had even thrown out smashed furniture. The lobby itself was quite cool, with a little bit of moist carpet smell. It definitely beat being cooked alive on the roof. You were alone, save for Tomura, who was trying to salvage leftover sweets from a vending machine. After a while, he approached you and sat down next to you. Holding an open bag of stale potato chips your way. Want some? He asked. You blinked. It was always weird whenever this guy was at least somewhat nice to anyone, really. Especially to you. You reached into the bag and took out two big ones. While happily chewing on the barely edible treat, Tomura spoke up. "It's been a few days now," he said with a curious undertone. "And, Your attention shifted from the potato chips to him. The curiosity is killing me." You knew he was beating around the bush like that just to make you curious yourself. "Go ahead," you said. "When I choked you that evening, why didn't you die?" By now you had learned about the destructive nature of his quirk. You needed to think. You actually didn't know. "What's your quirk?" You remember he had actually asked you that day. And you closed your eyes for a moment. You really had forgotten. Noticing your furrowed brows as you were desperately trying to remember, he retorted, "You're the first person I met who was older than 5 who doesn't know their quirk." You gave him a hurt look and he blinked. Tomura was surprised himself. He actually didn't want to insult you, and he didn't even know why. You sighed. I don't remember. I really don't. It was a long time ago the last time I think I used it. I don't know." He scoffed. "So it's a useless one you never used, huh? So it's a useless one that was barely usable?" "I don't know," you said quietly. He grinned diabolically before stating, "I have a feeling." He got up and walked in front of you once again, but instead of choking you, he took both your hands in his, and you blushed. "Still nothing." By now you knew his quirk all too well. Once he disintegrated the doorknob of a bathroom Spinner had been occupying, by accident, trapping the lizard man for 2 hours until the emo guy Darby noticed he was trapped and burned down the door. "I think this is the result of your quirk." You blinked and looked up at him, and now it was his turn to blush. "Don't look at me like that," he scoffed before turning around and crossing his arms. You apologized. You apologized, and he replied, "You made it weird for me." Weird for him? The past weeks. Weird for him? The past days had been the most surreal thing to ever happen to you. Now that you think about it, it really was. Now that you think about it, it really was. How did this happen to you? "I'm still not over it," he said after a moment of silence. You suppressed a chuckle at his childishness. He definitely was trying something. Just what was it, though? "Wait. Tomura?" you asked carefully, and he grunted in acknowledgement. "Are you upset you can't kill me with your quirk?" "No." His answer came a little too fast. "Tomura, why did you let me join?" He didn't reply. After another moment of silence, a desperate thought came to you. Due to the man's childishness, he was prone to bouts of anger, mostly towards Darby, twice in anything related to heroes. And this was a simple hunch. And if it turned out to be wrong, sure, there would be a few awkward days, but you could deal with that. You grinned and quietly stood up, taking a step closer to him before wrapping your arms around his chest. He groaned, his muscles tensing under you. "What are you doing?" he barked. Yet, he did no attempt of pushing you back. You were glad he couldn't see your face. as you were grinning like a gingerbread man. "I like you too, Tomura." For a moment he ceased all movement. "Come on, intuition," you thought. "Come on." Then he softly rubbed over your hands. "This changes nothing," he scoffed. "Say it," you seductively whispered into his ear. "Fine. I like you." You gently pushed your head into the back of his head, green as white as it could be. You had just secured a permanent position within the league. You knew that all he needed was the single touch of a woman.